right, let's dive into something that honestly might seem kind of basic at first. Skateboard grip tape. You know, that sandpapery stuff on top of the deck.
Yeah, most people don't realize how much thought actually goes into it.
Exactly. We're going to prove it's way more interesting than you'd think.
It really is.
So, anyone brand new to skating might be wondering, what's the big deal, right? It's just there to keep your feet from slipping off.
Totally. It's all about that traction between your shoes and the board.
Imagine trying to skateboard on ice, right? You'd be all over the place.
Not a fun time. Grip tape is essential, and it's not one size fits all either.
Okay, so our sources get into this whole thing about different materials. Silicon carbide, aluminum oxide. Sounds pretty serious.
It is, in a way. Those materials directly affect how much grip you get, how long it lasts, even how it feels under your feet.
Silicon carbide, from what I'm reading, seems like it's for, the hardcore skaters. Max grip, even if it chews up their shoes faster.
You're right on. It's all about those grains. Silicon carbide has really sharp, jagged grains, kind of like coarse sandpaper. Those really bite into your shoes, give you that super strong hold.
So for someone like me, still figuring out how to ollie consistently,
Yeah.
maybe not the best choice.
If you're just starting out, you might find it a bit too much. Aluminum oxide is probably a better bet. It's still grippy, don't get me wrong, but those grains are smoother, more rounded, easier on the shoes, lasts a bit longer too.
So if silicon carbide is like rough sandpaper for a quick and aggressive job,
Right.
then aluminum oxide is more like using a finer grit. Smoother, more controlled.
Perfect analogy.
Nice. Okay, so we've got the material down. Now, the sources mentioned something about dot grit and coarseness.
Ah, yes. That basically tells you how rough or smooth the grip tape feels to the touch.
Right, because there are different levels of that, not just grippy or not grippy.
Exactly. And those levels make a difference depending on what kind of skating you're into.
Like what, for example?
So imagine you're bombing a hill at 30 miles per hour on a longboard. You want your feet GLUED to that thing, right?
Makes sense.
That's where coarse grip tape comes in. Think 24 to 40 grit. It's like sandpaper on steroids. Downhill longboarding, freeride, anything where you need maximum grip for carving and sliding at speed, that's your go-to.
Got it. So that's for the adrenaline junkies.
Yeah.
What about something more like chill cruising? Does the grit change for that?
It does. Medium coarseness, usually around 50 to 60 grit. That's your sweet spot for more relaxed longboarding, cruising around town, that kind of thing. Still grippy, but not crazy aggressive.
Like the difference between, I don't know, a leisurely bike ride versus racing down a mountain.
Exactly. You need some grip, but it doesn't have to be insane. Comfort and control are key for that cruising vibe.
All right, so we've got the material, we've got the grip level now for the fun part.
Right. This is where it gets personal.
The design. Because it's not just about function, it's about how your board looks too.
Totally. It's like an extension of your style.
Exactly. So we've got plain black, which, classic for a reason.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that.
Never goes out of style. Plus, I'm guessing it doesn't show dirt as much.
Good point. Especially if you're skating in dusty areas or whatever.
Makes sense. Then we've got colored grip tape. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Want to pop a color? Go for it.
Exactly. Just be aware, lighter colors, they might show wear and tear a bit more.
Ah, that's good to know. Okay, now we're getting into the really fun stuff. Graphic designs.
Oh yeah, this is where people get creative.
Brand logos, cool patterns. I even saw some custom printed stuff.
Right. I saw someone with a grip tape that was like a replica of a famous painting once. It was wild.
Wow. Okay, then there's transparent grip tape, which I'll admit I've always kind of dug. You can see the graphic on your deck underneath, right?
Yeah. Like if you have a cool graphic on the deck itself, you can still show it off. Subtle flex.
Love it. Okay, and this last one. Die-cut designs. That's next level.
It's very intricate. Basically, you're cutting out shapes and patterns from the grip tape, so it creates a kind of stencil, reveals the deck graphic underneath.
That's so cool. Although, I do have a question. With all this printing and stuff, doesn't it affect how grippy the grip tape actually is?
That's a good point. Because all that extra ink and stuff, it can make the surface a little smoother, especially in the high wear areas.
Like where your feet are usually planted.
Exactly. So you might be sacrificing a bit of grip for the sake of style. Not always, but it's something to keep in mind.
Find that balance, right? Don't want your awesome grip tape to be the reason you wipe out.
Exactly. Okay, so you've got your heart set on a certain design. What's next?
Well, got to talk about the practical stuff, right? Like, how much does this all cost?
Good news is grip tape isn't usually going to break the bank.
Music to my ears.
Yeah, you can find a decent sheet for $5 to $15, give or take.
Solid. Now, There are some pricier options out there, though. What makes them so special?
Could be the material, like we talked about. Higher quality stuff usually costs more. Some brands also have like special features, maybe a unique manufacturing process.
So you're paying for the tech, basically.
Sometimes. And then there's always brand recognition, right? Some brands just have that reputation for being top notch, and that comes with a price premium.
True that. Okay, one thing I definitely wanted to ask about was perforation.
Yeah.
Because, man, I have had my fair share of struggles with air bubbles under the grip tape.
Ugh, the worst. It's like you're almost done applying it and bam!
Yeah.
Air bubble.
The worst.
And then it's like impossible to get out. Perforation, though. Game changer.
Yeah, some brands have started doing that, right?
Yeah, like Mob Grip is a good example. They put these tiny little holes throughout the grip tape, and it lets the air escape as you're applying it.
So smart. Why didn't anyone think of this sooner?
Right. It's like those breathable holes they put in some shoes makes such a difference.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. Materials, grit, designs, even how to avoid those air bubble tragedies.
It's a science, I'm telling you.
It really is.
Yeah.
But what else do we need to know? To become, like, true grip tape masters.
Right. Well, we got to talk about the actual application. Size, adhesive, all that good stuff.
Okay, so size. That seems pretty straightforward. Just grab a sheet and slap it on? Yeah.
Well, not exactly. You'd be surprised how many people, especially beginners, forget to actually measure their deck first.
No, right. To make sure it covers the whole thing.
Exactly. You don't want to end up with, like, a sliver of exposed deck. Not a good look.
Not safe either, probably.
Exactly. Most grip tape sheets are like 9 by 33 inches, something like that. Works for most decks, but if you got a wider board, dot measure twice, apply once, you know?
Good advice. Okay, so size is sorted. What about the adhesive? Is there actually a big difference between brands?
Oh, yeah. Big time. Some adhesives are just stickier than others. You do not want your grip tape peeling up after a few sessions.
Ugh, I can imagine. Talk about a buzzkill.
The worst. So, yeah, pay attention to that. Brands like Mob Grip, Jessup, they're known for having really solid adhesive.
Good to know. Okay, before we move on, any, like, pro tips for the actual application process? My first time was rough.
We've all been there. Okay, first things first, make sure your deck is clean, like spotless. Any dust, dirt, anything like that, it'll mess with the adhesive.
Gotcha.
Then take your time, don't rush it, slowly lay down the grip tape, smooth it out as you go. Helps prevent air bubbles too.
Smart.
Oh, and use something hard and flat to really press it down, especially around the edges. Screwdriver, something like that.
Nice. Solid tips. Okay, so let's say we've got our grip tape all set up, looking good. It's not going to last forever though, right?
Nope. Grip tape does wear out eventually.
How do you know when it's time for a replacement?
Couple of things. If it starts feeling less grippy, obviously, you'll notice that.
Yeah.
Also, look for wear and tear, holes, tears, that kind of thing.
Makes sense.
And if the edges are starting to peel up, yeah, it's definitely time.
Okay, so replacing it. That's not too complicated, Mike.
Not at all. You can totally do it yourself. Heat is your friend here. Hairdryer works great. Just heat up the adhesive, peel off the old grip tape carefully.
Don't want to damage the deck in the process.
Exactly. Be gentle with it. Okay, so we've got to talk brands, right? Our sources mentioned a bunch. Mob Grip, Jessup, Grizzly.
Yeah, Shake Shunt, Black Magic.
So many good ones. Like you said earlier, it really depends on what you're looking for. Mob Grip, great grip. Those perforations are clutch. Jessup, classic. Maybe a little less intense on the grip.
Right, right.
Grizzly, if you like bold designs, they got you covered. Shake Shunt, that old school vibe. Black Magic, known for being super durable. It's all about finding what works for you.
What I'm hearing is there's no right or wrong answer. It's personal preference.
Exactly. And that's part of what's so cool about skateboarding, right? It's all about expressing yourself. Down to the grip tape.
I love that. And hey, maybe this deep dive will inspire people to, look beyond the usual suspects,
Yeah.
There are tons of smaller brands out there, each with their own thing going on. So yeah, do some digging. You might be surprised at what you find. And who knows, you might even discover your new favorite grip tape. That's it for us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep shredding.